and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to this Ascension update with me. And it will be focused on the energy scheme, of things and the greater unveiling that we're moving through for this month of February. But, as all my updates are, it's never so static and linear as just, month per month. It's actually talking about the evolutionary cycles that we're moving through as Ascension Pioneers. So I got two beautiful essences for this month, which really coincide with the sacredness of Valentine's Day. And, February is often called the month of love. And this year we really had a quickening of energy here. The new year began, and here in our country we had like this holiday, and when people masquerade, and basically these costumes, they're calling forth for the spring. But this year, we're actually, the spring wave come a bit faster. So the thing is that there was a stronger pace of energy movement. So I'm wearing red today, which really coincides with these two beautiful essences. As you can see, one is surrender, the other one is passion. So again, I wish to emphasize the meaning of surrendered passion. What does this mean? This is not the same as being passive and just waiting for things to happen in our life, because the energies are constantly moving us forward. But for a lot of people, it's still, not really clear that we do have to become a participant in life. Nothing will just happen. If we live merely as a vertical being, the horizontal will not match. They won't marry each other. And I always emphasize this in my videos. So the red is a color of movement, and I think it's really beautiful. These two cards fell out as I was shuffling these crystal compass cards. This is a gift someone gave me. Crystal compass cards. It's a beautiful card. Someone gifted me once, so thank you if you happen to be watching. These are beautiful energy essences cards, and I think this is very much for this month, because when I look into this month, I continue to see red color, and red is also, when we have these royal garments of kings and queens. Oftentimes they're red and violet, which is seen here in this card. So the passion element is here to remind us that we are co-creator beings. We're not just conscious observers, which was something that we were developing for quite a while in our journey of ascension. But now we're really beginning to see that our creations are becoming more dynamic. We might be noticing more rapid waves of manifestation. And I don't like to use that word so much, because there's a lot of emphasis on that constant manifestation through a certain method or means or affirmations. There's a lot of effort that needs to be put into it. In truth, everything that we co-create on higher levels, which is what we're moving now into as Homo Luminous, is created through soul essence. So we work with primary essences of creation. And so I will speak about a few topics again using my board. This became quite a I don't know, something that is irregular, if you happen to notice, but I like this format for when I have more to share in a beautiful information cluster. So the first thing I wrote here is withdrawal. And what does this mean? I want to talk about this essence, because a lot of you might feel now a sense of, there's a completion cycle that we're moving through. And we just began here, I wrote the new moon, which signals the new year. And what I mean by the new year is the year of the red fire monkey. Again, you see the red. So it does kind of feel that our year does begin with the color red. So the year of movement, the year of passion, the year of creativity and more playfulness. A lot of times when we think of the nature of spirituality as of on high, we sometimes negate the lower aspects of our physicality, which are rooted through the red aspect. Often we talk about the red ruby as the essence of the core of the planet. And maybe you've read this, these, I don't know, sometimes in these New Age articles and so on and so forth. But this is almost like now these aspects, the higher and the lower, want to marry. So you see I have here also a bit of the white. So white and red, You know, this is very much that white light which permeates, and it does wash all over us. And more, it's clearing the debris of that which we're truly not, so that our experiences are going to become more authentic and more really aligned with our true soul nature. So as the white light streams forth, and we are the receivers, the receptacles of this white light, so much is being purified from our vessels. And we will feel that as also sometimes making the choices of what will stay and who will stay in our life and what won't, and what will move forward and forth. Because a lot of the times, the energy we've been drawing from previous cycles was almost like this eagerness to assist, to be everywhere, to do everything, to hold a responsibility for a lot of people, for a lot of souls who are choosing to ascend. And now we're more and more realizing that we've done this journey, we have traveled through this journey, and there's something new waiting for us. And we are seeing this almost like as this, what I wrote here, the withdrawal. That does not mean that those souls who are here to serve the collective, who are here to serve through the white light of unity consciousness, who are here as gatekeepers, essential pioneers, creation pillars, all of that, it doesn't matter. Each playing our unique role within the allness of all. It's just that we might feel a greater withdrawal energy now. And this is because we're actually allowing those others to make their first steps towards this new without always being there for everyone, for everything, for every single energy upload and integration. And this energy might feel new to us because we were used to always being responsive to everything. And this is not the same as having boundaries when something comes and it's too much of it, or like the energy overload. It's nothing to do with that. We have been mastering that throughout the last year. But what this really feels like for a lot of you who are probably moving into that cycle, it will feel like that. So you might resonate with this. If you don't, just let it go. It's not important for you. But this withdrawal energy feels almost like I had a dream. It was a few weeks ago, not long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And usually before I wake up, I have these either vision dreams or vision guidance or words or sentences or light language or elven singing, something like that just comes. And it's an information that later my human self needs to decode and understand. But the guidance was, this human has done so much for humanity, and now it's time for them to relax and go to rest. And I didn't get it first. Is it because it was spoken in the third person? And then I realized, of course, it's about me. And it was this higher, neutral observer just passing on the torch of what needed to be understood at that level. For a lot of you might feel the same, because if you have been participating with this grand plan of unfolding, of us moving into this new crystalline grid, I will talk about this later too today. It's on the list. You might be feeling, it's not even a sense of just being tired or you've done so much, now it's time for you to take a break. Because in truth, we never take a break from this. This is who we are. This is what we do as essential pioneers. So we will never really take a break. This is like ingrained in our being. But in truth, it's more about where we are now, as in which step of this process we're in. And I keep hearing this withdrawal, and I find in myself within me, because I used to be responsive so much to everything, and people writing and everything. It was a lot, and I felt at that time, even the work I was doing was so much needed. But as this year began, I felt feeling more this withdrawal, just withdrawing from this main massive current of energy. This has a lot to do of the crystalline web we've been co-creating, and I'll talk about this in the next few points. But at a certain level, when we come to this, there needs to be a certain plugging off of this, what we have previously known, so that we can integrate the new. So this withdrawal energy serves many purposes. And one such purpose is so that we can have that serenity of complete blank slate before we're going to start this new chapter, because we never just jump from one to the next. We kind of integrate. So I will talk about this as well. But the new moon and the new year, and as I wrote here, the essence that really works with us is red. And I've been hearing somewhere that the energy of this year is violet and also pink. It's how many people are receiving that for their own personal journey and where we are. But we can never fully generalize things, because it's going to be always up to us where we are in our ascension. But for a lot of us, we're beginning this year now with February, because January, as we were giving that short break, that short pause with the retrograde movements, and now we feel like this pause before the year is actually going to start to begin. It's almost like that, when you before you start running, there's these running marathons, and they kind of kneel down and they have like these 3 steps, these 3 phases before they jump off and they start running. So this is kind of how it feels now. And we're just like in this animated suspension, waiting for the year to begin in a big way. But we really needed that withdrawal, and we're still in a way withdrawing in a way so that this new energy wave can unfold. So if you're feeling that, know that this is a part of the process and it's nothing to be feared. It's not like now we're losing our sense of receiving these downloads or always being there horizontally for everyone, supporting everyone. This plays a very important part of the role that we have assigned up to do. And always, always trust your guidance. Even at times you feel weird, you feel spaced out, you feel, what am I even doing now? Because it feels, am I even having a purpose? Because you are the purpose. It's the energy you're holding. So yeah, it feels like with this new moon, it's in Aquarius, and Aquarius is that expansion and freedom. It's even it's the sign of this new age. It's the Aquarian age we're moving into. So it's beautiful that this year starts with the Aquarius moon, the new moon, which kind of gives us that liberation phase. And it does also relate to this withdrawal energy. For those of you who are feeling much more telepathic than before, this is a part of this process, because before we were so engaging with life, we were so engaging with everyone, with everything that needed to be there, because there was strong current of being a bridge walker, a gatekeeper, whatever it was. It was a strong foundation. But I've shared this with you before, that we have our purpose has different layers to it. So it depends on the collective process that we're moving through in our ascension and how we serve. So for me, I've been seeing that there's a certain purpose that I had before my awakening, and there was a purpose that I had during these bridging years, the transformational years, and that the new earth purpose again would be something different. And that's what I've been always feeling for myself. And even a few years ago when I started this journey, I had this coach. It was just a short experience, and the man said to me, you will be preparing for what's to come as your true purpose in this lifetime, all the way up until almost 2018, which is not even here yet. And I felt this. And for a lot of you, it might feel something very similar. You are living it, you are doing it, but you feel like there's a more expanded version of your purpose that's also there. But this is where we needed to be now. So this withdrawal kind of serves us so that we can prepare for where we are meant to be signed into. So where are we going to be signed into for this new chapter to begin? Yeah, so, a lot of people talk about these different waves of energy, like indigos, crystal children, diamond children, rainbow kids, all these things, but they never really give it meaning, Well, they do, kind of, but the whole purpose of crystal children means they are the co-creators of this new crystalline grid, while the more previous vibration that was needed to dissolve the old, but they're actually in parallel. They're not like linear one and then the next. So it's not just a generational thing, it's an energy essence thing. And you might have many essences within you. So the indigo vibration is more to dissolve the old system, because that's what's needed as well. So working with dissolving the matrix, while the crystalline, the crystal children in this vibration is more to seed the new. And these are crystal grid workers. We're always seeding this crystal grid, and I'm going to talk about this in the next point. But I want to talk about now about Ascension integration, which deals with our DNA, because recently I received a question on my page on Facebook. Someone said that I talk a lot about integration, but what does it mean if I can give a specific single example? And the thing is, it's very hard for me to give a specific example. Sometimes I try, but without you having your own experience and knowing, when you say like, aha, that's what it is, and you receive it from your own spirit, you're never going to be in full knowing. I can say many things, I can give us 100 examples, but the true knowing comes when you will have that awaken within you as your own knowing. So I'm just, again, here, another bridge keeper. It's I can't be the one who has all the knowing, all information. Sometimes people think you have all the answers every single moment, but in truth, we can all do our part the best way we can. That's what we're here for, and we can't expect so much from each other, because that's, again, it keeps us away from the self. But I will give you an example of, in truth, more in a grand version, what does it mean when I talk about integration? Ascension integration deals with DNA. So we all know that I spoke about before as well, about planting the seeds, then activating that energy, and at the same time releasing that which is not a part of that authentic energy, and then integrating and then embodying. I talked about these main stages of ascension. Well, they're always in motion, they're always intertwining, and they're intermingling. So basically, what integration means is, you know, as human beings, we were subtracted from our full DNA capacity. The light DNA quote name was always written. It's always written within your stellar self, and your I am presence is always there. But as you've been having these incarnations and experiences, it was never fully activated to that degree. So when I talk about ascension integration, or when you integrate things through your experiences, the experiences are like a mirror, a doorway for the particular essence to come into your being, to come into your awareness. And then as the integration process begins to unfold, what that means is you cannot integrate before you're aware of what you're integrating anyway, if you know what I mean. So first you need that seeding, you need that awakening and that realizing, so that you know it's in need of coming back. It's almost like the reawakening to that truth, and then in the physical, integrating and then embodying it. So what this means is, like, imagine your DNA, and you, as being in this human vessel as you are right now, you weren't fully accessing all of that. But also, in a much grander sense of our stellar lineage, of our galactic lineage, our cosmic lineage, we have parts of us that we have, in a way, not fully developed. So these are aspects that we're integrating, and there's no other way to integrate but with the acceptance of pure love. So cosmic love, true love, divine love, whatever you call it, is that which truly provides the basis for that integration to take place. So if you imagine you as a being subtracting from certain elements of you, you were never fully living your wholeness. And when I talk about ascension integration, is the return to that wholeness by actual experience, and bringing that back in your DNA and your physical DNA as well, from your light DNA into your physical DNA. Again, from the vertical to the horizontal, the fusion happens, a merge and integration process of sacred marriage. So your light and love essences uniting as one, creating the birth of the new human who we are becoming more and more. So when I say integrate, it means that when we are awakening our DNA, we're not just awakening to the potential, but the integration means the bringing of that actual essence into our physical experience, into every experience. And when the previous videos I talked a lot about relationships, and they're providing this stage where we play out these things, that these essences come to the forefront, so we know what we're integrating. These are just aspects of us returning to us, and we're not taking it from others. In relating experiences, we're only using the mirror so that we can see what inside of us was not fully developed in our human experience, and that is what integration means. So through ascension integration, the ensoulment happens. The ensouling means the return of you, into this physical experience. That it's not just, you say, when you die or when you go to another plane of existence, that's when you can have the capacity of fully loving again and being in your total purity and in your total ascended state. No, you know, you can have it right here and right now, and this is what physical ascension is all about. So as an integration is always directly related with the DNA process. I hope that makes more clarification, that brings more clarification to those of you asking. But I also want to talk about the polarization, because in a position to integration, the polarization of our physical experience happens with a lot of the people who get too much either in the vertical or too much in the horizontal, or, you know, they see these two processes separate. You know, ascension always comes with descension. I talk about this in my mastery courses, especially the course about self-empowerment and ascension. I describe this physical experience, and I'm going to share more about this, and especially in a cosmic way, in my course that's coming very soon about multidimensional ascension, because we are multidimensional beings, and this ascension is being experienced in parallels. And so the polarization happens when we're too much in the light, and this is not the light that's the neutral light, you know, the source light that we talk about as the seed of all light. It's the false light, where sometimes we use the methods of being too overly fanatical, or using escapism, or using other means as negating the feelings, negating emotions. And I've met a lot of people who think that ascension happens through the vertical, and all they want to do is move up. But they don't merge their ascending or simultaneous descending, so they can bring the vertical to the horizontal simultaneously. What they do is they kind of negate certain aspects of them, and that's not truly ascension as it is. And the most a pure sense. It's just very simple. Truth is always simple. So polarization is when we continuously want to move in one form of being without embracing the other polarity. So in truth, we're not unifying our polarity, but we are continuously polarizing it, or thinking, things of the human nature are bad, or things like, that's not ascension, or we're continuously creating this duality. And we will see when the person is not, for example, when someone isn't embracing ascension in terms of their physicality, where their life reality won't match what they're trying to figure out with their mind. For example, someone might have very good ideals, very high ascending ideals, and I've met people like that. But in their physical life, they live a very mundane life with no higher cause, with no higher calling. They never step out of this comfort zone and start creating on these higher refined levels of the ascended light. So basically, their vibration isn't yet embraced. So the higher vibration isn't embraced. So ascension does not happen in our head. It's not something we wish for, or something we will achieve through ascetic means of being, by negating certain aspects, by negating the horizontal. It's not going to happen this way. I want to share with you that this ascension, again, I've repeated that so many times, it's cosmic heart opening ascension, but it's the fusion of all of ourselves, and it's the creation of the white pillar, the cosmic pillar of white light that we truly are. And that cannot happen with us still living in polarization and false light, because there's a lot of people who believe that as you reach a certain level, and there's a lot of talking about these levels, I instead rather would imply words like layers, or just certain life streams of expansion, because when you're really moving up, you're just basically expanding. You're not moving up in this vertical way, and for a lot of people who do approach ascension that way, things will still be perceived very dualistically, and will have lots of judgments for human experience. They won't understand other people and why they have to go through certain soul agreements, because basically for them everything just becomes this isolated experience, and it's all just upward movement, and the rest does not even matter. This is very exclusive, so try to see when you have aspects of that polarization playing out. And I've met people who are very polarized, and they especially have been denying the feeling aspect of their being, because there was a lot of cosmic experience when the feelings were misused, or people are in fear that the emotions would cause something that wouldn't serve them. So they just rather close up than have a real heart opening, moving experience when they would just really just pour out. And when you don't allow that to happen, how can the intensity and the purity and the truly immense capacity of the infinite white light flow through you when you really polarized yourself? So with feelings that come, for example, a lot of people judge anger. And I wrote anger here specifically, and I made a question mark, because a lot of people think anger is bad. And when you're on this level of ascension, and people said this very often, and I witnessed this myself, and they say, how can you be ascending when you get angry? Or how can you be in a high vibration when you get mad? Or you have these feelings, or you burst out sometimes. Basically, people who allow themselves to feel, they are ascending because of that, because they're releasing those old waves of energy, or moving stagnant energy. And anger always moves a lot of stagnant energy. I'm not talking about anger that's very much when you hold on to it. I'm talking about the momentarily passing anger, which just comes for you to realize something doesn't serve you. And I specifically remember saying to someone, explaining my feelings to them, and they said to me, after thinking for a while in their head, they say, well, I don't want this to be burdensome for us, to be in the way. And I said, wait a minute, feelings to be in the way? You cannot avoid them. It's almost like we're trying to judge the aspect of ourselves that feels, and not wanting to deal with it at all. So I've noticed that a lot of these beings, as their energy will feel very cold, will feel very gray, there won't be no essences, it almost like trying to dull the experience. And when this happens, this is not truly ascension. This is just the negation of the overall experiences, so that we can ascend, so that we can break through and liberate all of ourselves. And sometimes, a lot of these people who have a judgment of these feelings, they live very much in a negating experience where they want to control things and live in this false perfectionism state, which really doesn't serve us. So if you do get angry, if there are bursts of energies coming through you, welcome that. Know that this is happening because you're ascending, that you are finally allowing yourself to feel. That the feeling part in us tells us when something is not aligned with our soul. And if we didn't have that, we'd just be recreating it. We'd just constantly be doing the same and the same, never seeing that, wait a minute, this is maybe not really aligned with my vibration of joy. So the feelings that are coming up are serving us to recognize and witness ourselves through certain aspects, and we're just playing them out, move on. It's not something that stays. If it stays, then this is another story. It means that we're holding on to that feeling. When the feelings are just messengers, they will flow, they will come and they will go. So that's something that in Ascension, it's very much becomes our experience. If, on the other hand, you're feeling very much in unification mode, you will be noticing rapid realization. What does that mean? I didn't use the word manifestation because there's a lot of weird connotation to that word in the New Age. I rather use the word realization, when you are self-realized. If you perhaps, after the beginning of this year, are noticing more things finally coming in your life, maybe things that before they just didn't come, and now it's very much quickening. You say something and it happens. You want something and it happens. But this is not due to the external circumstances. I wish to remind you that this is because we grew in our mastery. We have stopped being the victims, or we stopped waiting for others to do things. Let's say you want really badly something to happen, but you say, I have no one to do that with, or circumstances are not right, or I live here, I go there, here or there. And a lot of these things that previously we just continuously said, well, maybe one day, or a divine timing will come. There is such a thing in divine timing, but not used as an excuse. When you continuously postpone the now, the here and now, to maybe one day. Because I've met people who've said to me things like, oh, we have indefinite amount of times as humans. Oh, we have. This is true, but not totally true. You see, everything it has its counterpart. And this is, again, one of those hooks when you can continuously postpone being active, being proactive, and being co-creational in your life, becoming your own sovereign and the partner with life. So when you are moving more deeper in unification mode, you are definitely noticing things are happening now more rapidly. Why? I'm going to explain now. Why was there slow manifestation for a lot of us? Okay, so down below, I wrote about the new Earth crystalline grid. I'm sure that all of you have heard about this as well because it's been talked about everywhere online. What does this mean specifically? So many Ascension pioneers, when they were born onto this planet, onto this plane of existence, ever since the moment of their birth, and I know this was like for me, we didn't consciously know it all the time because we were, let's face it, we were just tiny babes. And then we had to go through different stages in life to become a human, mature adult. But ever since our birth, our energy was being played out on higher levels. So we were putting energy signatures and investments all the time into this time that's coming up now, the completion of the new Earth crystalline grid. So we were seeding and anchoring this new Earth grid energy. This is specifically so for crystal children, for the crystals. And now the specifically shifting energy into the diamond light. And what this means is that because that was so, most of our reality was lived there. Even though we had, we lived as a human counterpart like this, we had normal lives, we went to school, we had friends, we did certain events, we had our extracurriculums, we did what we did, we started awakening, but most of our energy input was into this new Earth crystalline grid. That is why a lot of the time when we were living our reality, we were investing as well in that reality, not much came out as a payoff. And we did experience maybe a lack of true companionship, of things, of our high refined nature being mirrored back to us, or having certain things, I don't know, just that abundance. Maybe we didn't feel so abundant. We felt richness of abundance in our essence, but it didn't always meet us horizontally in our reality, in our physical reality. This is because most of our investment was put into the new Earth crystalline grid, and we were creating already on that level, and that is already there. It already waits for us. I mean, it's not even a waiting. It's more like it's stabilizing. And for a lot of us, because the Earth grid is now being stabilized and this process is in a way completing, it is definitely shifting to a new cycle. We will be feeling more things coming. But these are things that we've already created. So this is what I call the withdrawal, to feel where we are now, what's already there, and how can we tune into it without it neediness and effort and going against the stream. Because when we wake up to the fact of who we are, how we were creating, and why this is so, then things will start coming to us like, oh yeah, that is why. And for a lot of you, it might felt like you're investing so much, but you didn't always get in return. It's because your energy investments could not return to you through this, through this counterpart, because you were investing on this higher level. This is where most of your energy work was at, for those of you who've been doing this work. What this means is that as the earth fully joins with her crystalline body, with this new format, for those of us who've been mostly functioning there, we do have this physical form. It's not always evident, but let me give you one example. Once I was told by this lady, she was looking at me and she said, "You're half ethereal," and I didn't get it back then. But then slowly, as I got my own initiative and confirmation through spirit, I started to remember that this is because a lot of the work I do is on those higher planes. And although I do have this human body, still most of the investment and most of the things were happening there, and it was for a reason. A lot of this work is not always conscious. We do it on higher levels or when we sleep and so on and so forth. You do know that. So because of that, we were creating on that timeline. We were creating on the crystalline grid. Not always we had this abundance or everything we felt we deserved here in this density, in this format. But as this is becoming a merge now, and the more all disintegrates and dissolves, we will be feeling these returns coming to us. And again, like I said, it's not a return because there is no time. It's already there as our creation. We already created it. We're just going to start more easily tune into it, more tapping into it, and just live from that sacred pool of what is already created. Okay, so if that makes sense. So if you feel resonance with that, know that you are a part of that. And things, if you're already feeling them as lighter or abundance is more easier for you, it's because this template now where we are supports more of that, and our energy investments are already there. The same goes for what I talked about a lot in divine partnership. This planet, because of its old grid, didn't support so much this divine partnership and utter purity. And as I began to see and witness what people are talking about in these concepts of twin souls, twin flames, things like that, it felt to me so still dense. I still felt a lot of drama around it. I still felt a lot of neediness and control, and still a lot of this all playing out, because in truth, there is a lot of souls who are completing this cycles of incarnation. They're moving into this parallel ascension. So for them, they did need the experience of this, last bits and pieces of that drama playing out and those things. But I never felt it for myself that that's necessary, because I had a different journey and already came from the unification, came here to serve. And I never felt this. I always felt like this is not as it is. There is not like this drama, but it's just something I felt for myself. And from the higher expanded perspective, where love just is, and it doesn't have to be dramatic and all this games and, like, oh, who does what, who waits for who, and all these things, when people are talking about, and the runner syndrome and all these things felt to me very foreign, very misunderstood, because they were not wrong. They were just filtered through the experience that a lot of souls still felt that they needed. When you bypass that, and you don't bypass it by negating it, you just simply transcend it, a whole new world opens up to you. And what you perceive as true love and unity is something completely different. It's just love. It's love. To love for me was always just the most natural thing, so simple. And a lot of times, because I was investing on this higher crystalline grid, when I was here on this planet, I didn't always get this return. And I have to be honest, it was very hard for me to be in the human format and to have this human experience, because a lot of times my inner beautiful diamond child was like, oh, why don't people love that way? How can it be so easy for them? Why are they still striving so much? But at the same time, I needed to be withdrawn from that, because in essence, I shouldn't get involved. It was not allowed for me to get involved in that way, because Every single experience is because someone chooses it. So therefore we exist because we have created that. And those bits and pieces of that, what we have seeded, they need to play out in creation so that we can witness them and see what we have been creating. And this is how we learn the responsibility for our creations. So for those of you who have sometimes been feeling that you're intervening or you want to intervene in other people's processes, you're now seeing, if you have really done the inner work and neutralized, moved away from this polarization into the unification, you're feeling less and less the need to do so. And that energy of withdrawal is making you serve from a higher level, much more refined and expanded. Your light quotient really grew because of that. And there's nothing wrong if sometimes you feel someone is crying out for help and you don't even feel guided to respond because you feel that they're coming out of a sense of need. And maybe if you if you responded to them, you already, because you have such a high level of discernment now, you already see the timeline where this is going, and you see that the person will still not understand even if you give them something. So you do make choices from that higher place, not from the lower, which still wants to feed that, you know. And this brings true knowingness, the embracing of your knowingness, that you trust when your life force wants to move here or there and how it wants to serve, and you fully live it through that withdrawal. We're not disappearing, we're serving in a more unified way. That's all that's happening. There's less attachment, there's less addiction, there's less need, you know, and less striving for things. It's a more natural flow and much more work done just with your essence. Because the more you do master working with essence, the more work you do even with others with pure essence. So yeah, this is for now. These shifts that are happening as a part of this crystalline grid being adjusted, there's a lot of as our solar system basically is traveling, it's meeting other timelines. So the adjustments of timelines are happening, and sometimes this is felt as earthquakes or volcanoes are erupting. And lately, I've seen this lady talk about this because a lot of people have been asking about Planet X and does it relate to the Nibirian group and what does it mean? And basically, she explains the dynamics very beautifully because of the nature of the binary solar system that we have, because they're always in correlation. So now that this merging is happening, we're going to get these influences from the outer regions, you know, and moving now into our solar system, even it's just energy, because they're affecting our timelines. And when you look at the nature of ascension integration into our DNA, because we do all have just stellar DNA, not just the human DNA, but we have different levels of our DNA, and as far as our memory goes back. So I always say that everyone is in a way coming through star lineage, but because a lot of people have been incarnating in this earth vehicle and this earth's wheel of constant repetition, they have forgotten about that part of them, which is their stellar DNA. And this is now awakening with these adjustments that are happening with the timelines, or people are going to get more memory back. And also what's happening is because these adjustments, we're going to get a little bit of disruptions in our sleeping patterns. And I've experienced this recently. I just couldn't believe I was waking up every single hour, and this is not usually very, known to me. I was like, why is this happening? And I got this confirmation coming about these timelines and adjustments. I'm like, of course, there's so much happening now, and these adjustments are affecting every single cell in our body. So these centers they're being awakened. It's almost like you get this, energy beam. It's like, and they're starting to react. So our bodies are basically being awakened and called back. So we do need a lot of time to nurture our physicality still because of all that's happening. And the last thing I want to talk about today, which is something I promised, is about the return of the Atlantean family. So they're coming together for the greater purpose. And I call this the group soul level. I have a beautiful mastery course. That's the 8th course that I offer in my mastery classes. It's called Group Soul and Divine Partnership. It talks about the greater merging of our group soul after we master ourselves to the level when we embrace our true nature of our self and soul, us as a unique individuum. And then these greater levels are coming to serve within the greater group. So back in the days before the fall, there were specific groups that were being formed. And these groups, they came here to it was a continuation journey. It didn't end then, and it was a part of the bigger bigger unfoldment, and we knew it. So those of you who feel you're in this path, you always, I'm going to give you some of the signs that maybe this is happening for you. And this does again relate to the anchoring of the new earth crystalline grid, because these greater groups cannot function through the old matrix because they were based on purity. So when in the past with the fall, this false net was being set up, and true, they couldn't function anymore, but it was a densifying of the experience. So they knew that it will have to carry the essence of this further up until the time when the ripening comes, when we will be ready again. And this time is now. And if you have been noticing in your own journey, if there was a calling to connect with the greater group, and this is not just like all meeting your soul families, it's not just about that. I'm talking here about the greater group when you were already associated with back in Atlantean times for the greater sharing of this knowledge, which was pure. It was untainted. It was not covered with specific distortions that later, created this false grid. So if you are a part of this purpose, you definitely have a lot of knowledge. This is cosmic star knowledge, not just knowledge of human spirituality. Well, it does translate into our human experience, but it's beyond what most people still call spirituality right here and now. And you do feel like you belong to a greater group that's been needing to come together at a certain point. I remember a few years back when I started my automatic writings, I did this beautiful writing that there's a group of us who already work together in Atlantis, and eventually we will meet, and we're spread across the planet. But it will be time, and it will be activations. Our souls will make sure for that, and we'll just run on from there on. But the grid needs to support that as well. And up until this point, we were working on that. We were building and reestablishing, and in a new way, this grid, because a lot of people say, oh, Atlantis is returning. And I always say, do you want that to happen again? Do you want Atlantis to happen again? Because it's always the consciousness. It's the consciousness to live in our purity, to live as true divine children in bliss and joy in our full capacity. And that was a part of that process was, of course, Atlantis, but not just Atlantis. But it's a continuation journey that a lot of us are now beginning to wrap up as we're moving into this new day and age. And this journey might feel like that there's a need to connect with those, not just to connect with people, build communities, all of that, which is a part of this new, but in a greater way to merge the essence of your knowingness from different angles of creation. Because if you've ever seen this picture, there's many photos like this online when there's a master crystal and there's a being in the middle and there's a few around it. So you have the being that acts almost like a synthesis to this group. And he's almost like the pillar, and there's others around it that support this energy, but together they're actually working as one. And if you've seen the last part, that's a newer part of Indiana Jones movies, when you have about the crystal skulls, this is the main theme. And these beings, basically, they were beings, these skulls were not just skulls, they were part of their some kind of a physicality. And when they put all together, they formulated this 13th octave, and they vibrated off, and the spaceship lifted off, and basically it showed this principle of holding that light in the sacred group. So these groups, these Atlantean families, they're coming together on a soul level. This is again a process that's guided by much larger forces than our human understanding and our mind. And this basically, it's just the process that started to be triggered right now. This is where we are, but it will be happening more and more. So yeah, what else to say today? I know I've been sharing much. I probably forgot something as always, because there's always so much to say. But the main thing is I want to share this, that every single integration we have, the Ascension integration, with that, we also need to come to a synthesis. And recently someone was asking me a few questions and about my experiences and what was like for me. And I was thinking about the nature of why sometimes as humans we like to compare experiences so much, because in truth we're different angles of creation. We each serve a different variation of creation, and all of our viewpoints, all of our different angles and approaches are really our own, and they're unique, but the synthesis will always be one. It will be unified. So when we come into synthesis, it's when we create this 13th octave, the energy of this neutralized vortex of the sacred God, Goddess essence of the ultimate life force. So when we can drop our comparisons or egoic attachments or wanting to know it all, because the thing is, like, we can't know from the perspective where we are being called to serve and to bring our own unique contribution. But we will never have the understanding of the completeness of everything. Even if we would, we wouldn't be able to use it in this body vessel where we are right now in our human evolution. That's all I'm saying. So when you're coming together with others, find the way to connect through that heart-centeredness, which is the understanding without the need to know and understand everything, if you know what I mean, because the truth is self-obvious, already knows its source. The truth does not need constant, like, oh, what does this mean? What's this all about? Trying to figure things out all the time. There's an aspect of us that's curious, that wants to know. And we also like to sometimes call this aspect our ego, and there's nothing wrong with our ego. It's not separate. And when we ensoul, our ego, which means we fuse it with the light of our higher self, and basically they're merging, we get this new creation, our new human birth. And that means we're coming from the angle of unification. But that is within. Because a lot of people are talking about unity consciousness, almost like we're going to move into a group soul. Most humans haven't even individualized yet completely. They haven't even yet fully embraced their soul in complete sovereignty. So how can you move from that to complete unity when we exist as one group being? This does not mean, when I talk about unification, this is first within us. And then the evolution knows itself. It knows how it needs to go. So, yeah, very much shared today. I hope some of that was in resonance. If not, just let it be. Because everything that's really important, we have to start trusting that it will come through our spirit. We will be given all that we're supposed to be given, because I see a lot of people are still searching for information outside, and they're going to chase for all these fancy readings and soul prints and all of that, which is, I'm not saying it's a wrong choice. I'm simply saying that a lot of the things that we will receive on the outside will be simply information. Information does not necessarily lead to knowledge and then, the distilled wisdom from it. It can, but not always. A lot of the times information can also confuse us. It can leave us feeling even more confused, because we receive so much, we don't know how to put that, into our physical, practical experience. And when people shared with me sometimes the kind of readings they received or what they were told about themselves, and there was many times I received emails like that, and I always tell them one simple thing. How does that relate to your physical experience? If there is something that you don't even know how to relate that into what you're physically doing, how you can translate that, then it's not beneficial for you to know. Because when we have that greatness of divine trust, we know that our spirit will feed us with everything that we will need to know in a moment. And if we don't know, there's a reason we don't know, because it's not important for our mission. It would simply put us away from where we need to be, what we need to be doing in this very moment. That is a very crucial point in our ascension, so that we cannot be distracted with all this false light. And I don't know, sometimes people think about all the places we've been around the universe or multiverses. It's, the integration takes place here within us. We have all of that cosmic light within, and the key point is integrating it. Like I've shared, this is dealing with our DNA activation, but also bringing that essence of what we before didn't fully embody, or we perceived as lack, or maybe we were seeking it outside of us. So before that integration takes place, everything that's there will just be information. Without integration, it's just information. So use those things that are coming from the outside wisely. Always console your spirit first, because that's what a true master in training is all about. As always, I wish you so much beautiful experiences, so many experiences within your own ascension. Thank you for those of you who are sharing your feedback or donating to this channel of mine, which I really am grateful for. And I thank you so much for that, because this is my work, this is what I do, this is why I'm here on this planet right now. And as always, so much love, wisdom, and power, and I'll talk to you soon with the next topic. So many blessings. Bye-bye.